out of like the 5 TikToks I posted today, like 3 of them got removed. 2 of them are back up now, but the one I put all the work into, and the one that was going to go, if not viral, somewhat viral, debunking Praxben, this big libertarian account on TikTok with 200,000 followers, who was citing Wikipedia and using the Wikipedia version of Hegel's dialectic to try and debunk it, and claiming that Marxism is a cult where we all think Marx was a prophet who could predict the future. I swear to God. So I've spent like an hour thoroughly debunking most of what he said. I couldn't debunk all of it within, a 3-minute timeline, and it gets immediately taken down after, like, it starts getting quite a bit of traction for a longer video like that, at least, and then freaking immediately gets taken down. And then I appeal it, and they immediately say, no appeal. And you know what? Folks? You know what's so sketchy about that? And the fact that our first TikTok account with 375,000 followers got taken down, despite many appeals, they decided to keep it down as we were getting smeared as for being puppets of Putin. This is from Alan McLeod of Mint Press News. The NATO to TikTok pipeline. Why is TikTok employing so many national security agents? So we were banned right after the Russian special military operation in Ukraine began. We were talking about NATO expansion towards Russia's borders. We were drawing attention to the 2014 US-backed coup in Ukraine. We were talking about various extremist groups like the Azov Battalion, and had our comments flooded with people calling us puppets of Putin and Russian propagandists. Lots of videos taken down, similar to what was happening today. And then they took our whole account down, and we appealed it, and TikTok said, no, we reviewed this. We had a real life person look at your account, and we still decided to take it down because we were talking about things in Ukraine that the US media at the time was calling conspiracies, but now are essentially proven. And the main organization we were criticizing at the time we were taking down, NATO, had many of their operatives, as well as other national security agents, hired as content managers for TikTok. So the people reviewing our geopolitical content on TikTok are the same people trying to do a proxy war against Russia and China. And those are the people who took down our account. Those are the people who review our videos, I imagine, and don't allow them to go back up, even when they don't violate community guidelines. And then children who use TikTok, and high schoolers and middle schoolers, have their minds flooded with this right-wing reactionary garbage content, as NATO is combing through it and removing all the revolutionary, truthful, good content that exposes imperialist lies that justify horrible U.S. interventions, which are horrible for the people in the U.S. And speaking of which, this shows, here's something from today that shows kind of how effective the propaganda has been, especially around this U.S. proxy war with Ukraine. Oh, shoot, where did it go? Hopefully this person didn't delete their tweet because they were getting flamed pretty hard, but this tweet belongs in a museum, I tell you what. Where is it? Here we go. This is from Poppy Fields Cafe with the Ukraine flag in their display name. I got this electricity bill today. How in the name of God is this possible? We're a small coffee shop in Westmeath, which is in Ireland. You see the total due there. A lot. A huge electricity bill. And this is what we've been saying, right? If Europe goes along with the US's sanctions, it's going to backfire because, over 25% of European energy comes from Russia. They're one of their major trade partners. And if you go along with the US's sanctions against China, it's going to make it even worse. We've been saying this from the beginning, which is why we've been drawing attention to the US proxy war in Ukraine and their sanctions and saying this is going to be bad for the whole world. This is going to be bad for the working people everywhere. And higher electricity bills and higher cost of living are coming to North America too, be certain. It's starting in Europe because they're closer in to Russia, and Russia is one of their major trade partners. But the U.S. sanctions will backfire and hurt North Americans. It already is, with inflation and things like that, but it will get worse. And anybody who said this, though, was called a Russian propagandist, or was even censored and had their account taken down, or were told that they're puppets of Putin. As people put Ukraine flags in their display names and in their bios and cheered on the sanctions and cheered on, using all our tax money to send weapons to Ukraine, and claim that anybody criticizing NATO is just a conspiracy theorist. But really, we were just concerned with your well-being. We're just concerned with the well-being of working people everywhere, in Europe, in Ukraine, in North America, in Russia. This war is bad for the working people everywhere, but it's a conflict that didn't have to happen. It was provoked by NATO. It was provoked by the U.S. State Department and the intelligence agencies and the NED and the various arms of the U.S. State Department who did a coup in 2014. Turn Euromaidan into a violent uprising. So, it's not that we're just rah Russia and we're looking at geopolitics as like a sport and we're rooting for our team. That's how the people with the Ukraine flags in their bio are looking at it. We just need to get behind Ukraine because the U.S. said so, and this will save liberal democracies from the big bad evil Russia. It's like, no, this is a small oligarchy, a small financial oligarchy of imperialists trying to enslave and dominate the entire world. And China is challenging that, and Russia is also challenging that in various ways. So now the U.S., which has been the imperial hegemon for the last 70 years at least, is now melting down, and using sanctions and these traditional tactics that have worked in the past, which now aren't working, and they're backfiring against the citizens. And this is what we've been saying since the beginning, right? We need to get rid of this tiny oligarchic group of people who are trying to hang on to their wealth and trying to hang on to their power at the expense of all of us, at the expense of the working people in Ukraine, at the expense of the working people in the U.S. and Canada, in West Europe and East Europe and Russia and China, right? The oligarchs are not doing what's good for anybody except themselves, right? We're not trying to divide people by country. We're trying to divide people by class. And you need to understand the Western imperialist class helped create this crisis, and now people who cheered on the U.S. funding, arming, and support of Ukraine and the sanctions of Russia like this are now feeling the effects in a very, very negative way. In the way of a greatly increased cost of living here. So, yeah. We're not trying to hurt you. What the socialists are not trying to hurt you. We're not trying to infiltrate this country with Russian propaganda and Putinist propaganda. We're looking out for your well-being, unless you're an oligarch. Okay, we're trying to stop these imperialist oligarchs from robbing you and sending all your money to fund extremists and sanctioning Russia and causing the cost of living to go way up and inflation to go way up. We're trying to stop them from trapping our own whole country in debt.